Awesome. I just restarted the Loom just in case the audio didn't work because this is my second time recording this because the first time my microphone wasn't set up properly and I talked for 33 minutes and nothing happened. So hopefully I'm a little bit more succinct this time because that would have been a long video anyway, even for my family and friends who do like to hear my voice and look at my terrible goatee. I'm sure you guys don't want to sit there and watch me for 30 minutes. Pro tip, put it on 1.5 speed with captions. I will talk very monotone and probably kind of slow, so you'll be able to make it work. So this anonymous company that I will not name because this is on the internet, I approached the boss on February 14th, and I have videos documenting this kind of journey as well. And in June 18th, I went full-time doing marketing stuff. So in February, I pretty much did all of this stuff in my free time. In April, I maybe had one office day. In May, I might have had one or two. And then I skipped March. March, I don't think I had any. But basically, did all of this in my free time, so the company wasn't spending money on me until June, and maybe four hours per week worth of money from this point on to June. And that's probably a high estimate, but I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt so these numbers can be accurate. Basically, this document is something that I made because the boss kind of pissed me off a little bit. But in addition to that, he kind of asked for it, like, hey, like, spending this money on you, you're staying in the office, is anything actually happening from it? So that's what this is. I have all of the data and reports. I have them anonymous, but I'll click into a few of them that the name is hidden, just so that way you can see I'm not making this up. And I will have this report and the data anonymized and put on my YouTube channel. So if you're interested in going comb through those datas, maybe you can call me a liar, tell me that I don't know how to read data at all. That's cool. That'll be there for you if you want. Just to iron out some definitions or a summary real quick. The timeline is things that I have done and dates, basically. And basically a big summary. The tables are the data that came from Facebook, from Google My Business Analytics, from QuickBooks, which is the invoicing software that the company uses. Costs is the best estimates on what they paid me and ad spend, and they only spent about less than 500 in ad spend, mostly just me learning how it works. Almost negligible, but it's in there. My recommendations, which I'm not even going to get into, and like I said, a link to all the data. So just to cover some the baseline and definitions real quick. We were 8th on the Google local pack, which I'll show you what that is. And I'm also learning that we were probably a lot worse than 8th. But because I had searched them so much, Google remembered that I liked them and it started putting them higher in that places package. We only had 8 reviews, 2.4 stars. There were no photos, no ongoing search engine optimization. That's what this means. No company Facebook presence, no email list activity. And then all of this stuff is linked on the last page. GMB is this thing right here. So if I go to landscaping in Las Vegas, you gonna catch up? Okay, loaded. This company right here, this is a Google business profile. This company owns this profile and they can tweak their name. They can say that they are a landscaping supply store. They can change like what category they belong into. They link their website, they put their address, etc. If you're on iPhone, they have a little call button right here. I am in control of my company's or this company's Google My Business profile. And on there, you can see all sorts of data. That is not the same as this right here. These are links that go directly to the website. So GMB, Google My Business, doesn't track these clicks, but it does track these clicks and, the phone number buttons as well. So just so that's covered. And then again, search engine optimization is the things that you do behind the scenes that make these companies stand out to the front. So reviews play a big part in that, relevancy, authority, maturity of the website, keywords, how much trust it's built with Google, and some other fancy like digital stuff. It's basically like, imagine a yarn ball. Like, your website needs to look like a yarn ball to Google. And the more yarn ball it looks like, the better it is, because everything's interconnected, as long as it's a yarn ball that makes sense and it's not just loaded with random junk and scam. So, first conversation with boss, I launched the Facebook page. We started sending emails. March, I learned what an offer was, and we sent a offer email, basically asking people for money. This email generated, where is it at? 24,000. So in the 2 weeks, or I guess not 2 weeks. What was the first send? Email one was February 21. So between this time and this time, that's 3 weeks. I had generated, provenly, me, $24,000. So that's an important number, because I do make some estimates and we talk about cash in here, and it's hard to see what I am doing directly if the office people aren't tracking everything properly, or it's kind of hard to measure the direct results. A lot of this is second and third order effects, indirect results. So keep that $24,000 number in mind, because in those 3 weeks, I pretty much covered my entire salary, which is wild, for the year, not just my salary since I've been doing this stuff. So I started learning how to do quotes, building some customer relationships. I got access to Google My Business, which was that thing up there, in April. I mostly did field work. I barely did any office work, and I was out for a bachelor trip and for a wedding. June is when I went full-time on the 18th, and that was because my boss fussed at me for not posting Facebook, and I told him that I don't have the time to work for free anymore, so he switched me full-time in the office so I could schedule all those posts ahead of time during my office hours. I did lots of SEO. We started running ads on the 30th of June, and we ran them to the 11th of July until the card failed, and we could no longer run them. And I did spend. We did another campaign from the 11th to the 15th. That was a different type of ad campaign we did. So basically, from the 30th to the 15th, we ran ads, and that was our first time ever running ads. And I was gone. The ads were not still running. I don't know why that's saying that, but the ads were planned to keep running until the card failed, and it didn't keep running. And I was out of pocket for that, so I was not able to assist. Here's where things get juicy. If we consider that the company only put me in the office for an average, again, averaged out 4 hours per week, which is 16 hours per month, they spent in this whole time, so about 5 months, they only spent about $4,100 on me and my ads, which is, this is how that's broken up. This is money that I spent personally out of pocket, in order to, I was testing ads because I didn't know how it worked, and the software that I use is called Go High Level, GHL, and that's the money that I've spent personally in order to do some of this stuff. If we look at year over year, the cash increase from 2024 to 2025 in the period of January 1st to July 31st, we've increased $40,000, which is assuming all of this came from me, that's a 9.8x return on investment. If you assume only 30% of the growth came from me, then it's still almost a 3x return on investment. By the way, we know that it's more than 30% because of that 24,000 number I was talking about. 30% of 40,000 increase is only 12,000. So we know that I'm at least 60% responsible for this growth, at least. So we're looking at a 5.8x return on investment. So boss gives me $1, I give him $5.8 back, basically. That is only in cash collected. If we looked at the invoice jobs that are still in the pipeline, that are jobs that we have given estimates out and that they have like confirmed book, yes, we will pay you, but they haven't paid us yet. We are, instead of being up 40,000, we are up 128,000, which on the high end, 31x return, 9.8x return on the low end, assuming 30% responsibility. Some of these numbers are a little inconsistent because the way that my boss does things in QuickBooks is kind of funky. So like these numbers are kind of plus or minus 10,000, which sounds like a lot, but it kind of gets you in the ballpark of to show that I have been a worthwhile investment. This is a month-by-month overview of Google My Business calls, clicks, Facebook views, and the cash collected. So you can look at this in the other video that I just did that didn't actually record. I broke down all of this, but it took way too long. So I think I'm basically just going to say, obviously the calls are up, or this is calls and then clicks. The thing that I do want to point out here is that for all of these months, I was barely in the office or not in the office at all. And we have all of these views, which we have about 120,000 people in our city. So some of these people can buy. These are the clicks straight to our website from the Google My Business profile. I didn't get access to the profile until April. And then in past April, we start to see, once I really get involved, we see a bigger boost in stuff. I think what's also interesting is in May, March, April, and May are some of the busiest months. So, again, I'm not claiming all of this revenue is because of me. This growth is because of me. But we know that at least 24,000 is. So, it kind of tracks with the other metrics that we're tracking as well. What I found was interesting is I have been doing all these posts. So you have all these views and this awareness of who we are as a company. And then in these busy months, particularly May, when I took over the Google My Business and, we have all these views and, we're pumping out emails and stuff, the website clicks go down compared to the month before, but the calls like almost double. That's like 4 away from being a double, which kind of tells me that like there's a much higher awareness of who we are as a company. And because of that, people just Google our business name because they've seen us on Facebook or they remember the emails or whatever. They Google our name on their phone and they just click the call button directly from Google, which is how this is tracked. So this isn't the total amount of calls we got, obviously. It's like just what we've gotten straight from Google. And the fact that the calls doubled and the website clicks went down, that means to me that we had more trust with them. So they weren't worried about checking our website first and then calling us from our website. They just called us straight from the Google page, which is pretty cool. And of course, we had the reviews. I think by May we had 20 reviews instead of just 8, and our average was up to 4 stars instead of 2.4. I wish I had that metric in here, but that's like off the top of my head. In June is when I switched to full-time office, and I spent most of my time trying to build out the new website, and we replaced the old website with the new website in June, and there were some hiccups in there, so you do see a decrease in calls and the Google My Business, the website clicks and stuff like that. I think a part of that was because it was a slower month, and then another part of that was because it was a new website. So Google takes some time to trust your website. After you put a new one on there, it has to age and get mature for Google to show it to people. Our first ads went live 1 July, technically like the last day of June, that evening. It was kind of crazy because we saw a huge increase in clicks, which is probably related to the ads and then the massive amount of SEO that I did, which I wish I had it all documented in this report here. But basically, instead of having a 7-page landscaping website, I created a 40-page website. So basically, what's 7 times 6 is 42. So that's like a 5.8. That's a website that's 5.8 times bigger, which means it's 5.8 times more likely to be found by Google. I did tons of backlinking and, just some nerdy stuff that I'm not really going to go into. But basically, I spent probably 4 whole work days just fixing the SEO and building it from scratch and learning how to do all that. So between that and the Facebook ads, it doesn't surprise me that we got tons of clicks because we're way higher on the, that's website clicks. We're way higher on the being discovered in Google. I think we were 4th place last I checked if you search landscaping near me, but it does fluctuate from day to day depending on office hours and what time you Google and stuff like that. But yeah, we did hit top 3 on one of those days, which was pretty cool. We're climbing up there, and the top 3 is where you get 66% of business is customers go to the top 3. So this is the difference between 2024 and 2025 in cash collected. The amount of invoices that we issued, which again is like we didn't necessarily collect on that yet, but it is jobs that we send them an estimate. When they agree to the estimate, then we send them an invoice. So these are jobs that we will do no matter what, like with a 90% completion rate. The estimates and bids were interesting to me because my boss keeps making these tongue-in-cheek comments about how I'm the bottleneck because, we don't have enough jobs. My response to that is, I'm not your bottleneck. First off, it wouldn't even be me. It would be the leads or the marketing, which you weren't doing before I got here anyway. So how me stepping into this role doesn't make me the bottleneck. It makes the other thing the bottleneck. But anyway, I'm here to solve the bottleneck. But looking at these numbers, we have almost tripled. Right, 0.5 times 5 would be 1.5. So yeah, we're 2.5 times increase in the amount of bids that we give. The estimates that we've given, and we just haven't closed on all of them. We don't have as many cash collected. So either we're pricing wrong, which I think we're probably pricing too low, or we're just selling way too many low margin jobs, or there's something else. But it doesn't appear to me that marketing is the bottleneck if we've grown by 2.5 times year over year in the amount of jobs that we've been estimating. And I'm not saying that I'm the result of that. I think that I definitely had a hand in that. But leads, I don't think is the problem. I think there's other problems there. Either that, or last year was a really rough year, and this needs to be at 3 million in estimates bid or whatever. You can see the calls, nearly doubled. The website clicks. Actually, this was 87 because the July one just updated. But yeah, calls from January 1 to July 31 have nearly doubled. The website clicks have more than doubled, and now we have Facebook views. So to me, that tells me people know who we are. They're interested not just in our content, but they're reminded that we exist. So when they go to book a job, they remember our name, and then we get the quote, we get the cash. Quote velocity proves demand. It shows that we could be closing more jobs. So it looks like operations is the bottleneck, unless you tell me that we need, instead of 433, this number is supposed to be, 800 for a company our size. But, I don't know. It appears to me that marketing and leads is not the bottleneck. So let's go to costs. This is how much the company has spent on me related to this marketing stuff. So that way I can calculate the return on investment. And this is the piece that when I said at the beginning, I was kind of pissed off. To be clear, I think my boss is a great man. This 4 hours marketing a week, that's all I was getting paid for this effort up into June. And I'm okay with that because I've had that conversation and said, I just want to learn these skills and help you grow. So this isn't me saying oh, you only paid me 4 hours a week. I was still getting anywhere from 30 to 40 hours a week. It's just that most of those hours I was on a lawnmower or digging with a shovel. And I was doing most of this stuff in my free time because I wanted to. I wanted to learn these skills. So with that out of the way, and he frustrated me because he, was like, well, I don't even know if any of the stuff you're doing is worth it. Blah, 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 blah. You should put together a report and see if we're going to keep you around. Or keep you here in the office. So, this report is kind of cool for me because I could see how much money I've made them. So you can look at these numbers, about $4,100 that they've spent on me and my efforts. If you count the ad spend, I subtracted my $140 from my test and just compared it to the Facebook Meta receipt. Everything that's improved from 2024 to 2025, like we've already covered. Again, these numbers could be a little inconsistent just because of the way that he invoiced things, but this is the lowest possible amount of growth that we've had. This is leaning more on the high end. So kind of cool. We already touched on all these metrics. Here's the cool part. If 100% of that growth was me, which is unlikely because obviously other people advertise, you get word of mouth. My boss has been posting on Facebook on his own private account, like stuff like that. But just to set the ceiling, for every $1 they spend on me, they get 9.8 back cash collected. If you look at the invoiced work that we have in the pipeline, then that is a 31x return. I'm less interested in this one. Let's go down to this one over here because I am not claiming that I am responsible for all the growth. However, I am at least responsible for 30% of the growth. Actually, I'm at least responsible for 60% of the growth because as we talked about earlier, this is 30% of 40,000 cash collected is 12,000. So 30% of 40,000 is 12,000. We know for a fact that I've generated 24,000 in March alone. So this number we could say 60. If we're only looking at cash collected, which is 40,000, this is 30% of 40,000. If we're looking at the pipeline money, the like total jobs that we've booked right now, 30% of 128,000 is $38,400. So this is a more likely return of the good that I've been able to do for the company. This is the lowest possible estimate, and even if it's the lowest, like not even true estimate because it's $12,000, you still get a 3x return on what was spent on me. Like I said, I covered my entire salary in the first 2 weeks, and not all of my work has been marketing related. A lot of it's been like systems and saving time and stuff like that as well. So it's not just money related, but this is the money related data to back it up. So if this is all of the money that we've made, or all of the money that, actually, I don't even know what this pie chart is saying because this is like saying 16,000. I think this pie chart is wrong because it's supposed to be like 40,000. Whatever. Basically, these numbers are correct. This pie chart is not correct. So I'll go ahead and delete that. The evidence to support that, some of this, assuming probably more than 30%, but assuming 30% at least is my fault, the evidence would be the calls that are up, the Facebook views, the invoices sent, email, SEO, tech, Facebook, Google. This says all touched by Nick during this phase, but the better way to say this is all built by Nick because they had nothing for email. They had nothing for SEO. They had no automations for like reviews and stuff, zero Facebook, and they didn't have access to their Google business profile. So like built by Nick, not necessarily touched by Nick, which, ties into the supporting evidence. This was on the limited time of the average 4-hour work week. So it's kind of crazy. They barely spent any money and got tons of money back, actually anywhere from $38,000 to $128,000. These are just some notes on the data. We're looking, the most likely return on what I've done is anywhere between 5 to 7. So if you do 24,000 divided by 4,100, you get about 5.8, which means that in those 2 or 3 weeks where I sent those emails and collected that money, and bid those jobs and stuff, that is that's a 5.8x return in cash collected that would not have existed otherwise. So I know it's revenue, it's not total profit, blah, blah, blah. Other people had to go quote and other people had to do the job and whatever. Like that amount of revenue in book to work would not have existed if I didn't do that stuff. So that's why I keep hammering down on that number. $24,000 in the 3 weeks that wouldn't have been there otherwise. So the reason I wanted to make this video is because, we're 5.5 months in, which is really cool. My brother and I have started doing this like a little bit more like fervently to get other landscaping clients and to make more money on this. And that like really solidified yesterday, which yesterday was July 31st for me at the time of recording. It's currently August 1st. Yesterday, well, let me back up. There were the 2 weeks in July that I wasn't here because of like circumstances out of my control, and I had excused work. And I got back after those 2 weeks, like ready to work, ready to make money. My wife is pregnant. Like we need money. So I'm like here motivated. I was here for 2 days, did some work. On the third day or the second day of the evening is when I started building this report. And I actually stayed up till 9 or 10 o'clock doing that. And then I was like, wait, I'm not getting paid. Why am I still doing this? So let me, close my laptop and then go spend some time with my wife. And I slept in because I was like focused on all these other things that I didn't set my alarm and I didn't get to bed on time and blah, blah, blah. I'm just making excuses here. But, it was somewhat related to work, but also I just slept in. I got to work 15 minutes late. And in the other 2 days of being back at work, I'm in the office, I'm listening to people call and fuss other people for saying like, you're an hour and a half late. And, you were drinking last night and you were hungover and you slept in and blah, blah, blah. And like, I hear these conversations all the time. I don't think anything of it because people make mistakes. It's like no judgment on these people. Showed up 15 minutes late and my boss was like, hey, you can go home. And I was like, seriously? And he said, yeah, just go home. Consider that your punishment. And I was like, all right. And for me, that's like, not that I deserve more, I deserve awesome things. But like, to me, this whole document is basically like a big middle finger because I'm prideful and that's how I feel right now. Because like I've been gone, I'm here, I'm motivated, I want to make work, I want to make money. I slept in, whoops. And your response to me sleeping in is, don't worry about it, Nick. I'm going to take food off of your plate and shelter away from you. And, you're not going to have as much money to prepare for your child. And that like, I was livid. I was ready to quit right there. And actually, the minute I am able to quit, I am quitting. And I might give it 2 weeks, but probably not because that stung. And I don't mind burning bridges. Kind of joking, kind of not joking. Maybe that's just how I feel because it's like the day after. But so this is cool for me because I can see that like obviously I have a skill set that the marketplace values because it generates income. And all I have to do now with the help of my brother is like generate or get on calls and make those deals with other people because I know I have the skill set to fulfill on my promises. I just have to like convince people to give me money. So this was really cool for me. And it's really comforting to know that for not too much longer, like no man will ever say to me for the rest of my life, you can't make money today to take care of your family. Like, F you. It's never going to happen again. And I'm very determined to make that happen. So I wanted to make this video to talk about that because this is supposed to be me documenting the highs and lows and the adventures and like everything physically, financially, spiritually, emotionally. And that's how I feel right now. And I'm sure my mind will change. I'm sure I'm going to look back fondly on my relationship with my boss. But right now, I just want to burn the place down. Actually, let me not say that. If this place goes down, it wasn't me, I promise. Hopefully you can see the sarcasm here. If you've made it this far, I'm sorry, I don't know why you did, but documenting this whole thing so that way, if and when, not if, but when I achieve those goals and I chase after the things that the Lord has put on my heart, then I'll be able to look back on these and maybe my kids can look at them and be like, whoa, Dad, you had a terrible goatee. And I can say, yes, son, you're right. But if you're one of those people, I appreciate you. If you're one of the people who actually know me in real life, then I, triply appreciate you for supporting me and for praying for me and for, all of the things. You know who you are, and you know that I appreciate you. At least I hope you do. And if I don't make it obvious enough, it's because I spend all of my hours doing shit like this, trying to make a difference for my family. So I do appreciate your prayers, and I appreciate your help, and hopefully I can make it up to you in the future. So all of you, all 78 million people who see this video because I'm super massive and famous in the future. I think that's it. Like I said, this stuff will be anonymous, but available in the description if you want to pick through my numbers and, call out my BS if you think that I'm lying about anything. Other than that, appreciate you and God bless.